VASYL Lomachenko, Luke Campbell, August 31st, O2 Arena.
Yeah.
What chance do you give Luke? I know you're close with that setup.
That stable, yeah. I'm in that gym a lot. Shane McGuigan, I think, is a fantastic trainer. I think he's one of the...
I think him and Ben Davidson, best young trainers. Probably
you would be surprised at how similar they are, I think, as well. The way they approach the sport. And
the way they even speak about the sport.
the way they think about the sport, the way they approach the sport. I think with Shane being literally born into boxing royalty.
That's true. Yeah.
He has more of an understanding, I think, not to say that Ben doesn't, but I think he has a good understanding or an excellent understanding of kind of the mechanics of behind the scenes in boxing. But I think he's a very astute trainer who would not be putting Luke Campbell into this fight if he didn't think he could win. Whether or not that's going to be enough. VASYL Lomachenko, in my opinion, is the best fighter in the world.
That's what I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've never seen a fighter do what he can do. I think Luke Campbell will be his most difficult fight so far.
Because the range and
range. Luke Campbell's a good everybody who I've spoken to about Luke Campbell, so people who have sparred him, talk about how hard he punches.
Devin Haney said the same thing.
Everyone says, so Teofimo Lopez.
Said it recently,
I did an interview with Teofimo Lopez and he said like he's really good. And you know, he told me some stuff off camera that I won't repeat, but
I'll find out off camera.
The scouting report was very, very good. Yeah. So, I mean, you would be crazy to have it any other way than VASYL Lomachenko being a favourite in that fight. But I think Luke Campbell is, of course, a live dog.
Yeah, but
he is still a dog. But what Campbell has and what people don't necessarily understand, not all people obviously, but punchers aren't necessarily the muscle bound guys. The Tommy has the rangy, stringy guys who catch on the end of a shot. Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, you look at someone like Timothy Bradley who couldn't punch.
No, but he looked brilliant. Looked amazing.
Fantastic.
Campbell catch you on the end of a shot, and his power is that long power. We saw Lomachenko get dropped by Jorge Linares. I know people who have been in the ring and sparred both of those guys, and they've told me that Campbell punches harder than Linares, and it's not even really close.
What shocked me though was when Crawler done an interview with Trish Dixon, I think it was, and he said Loma's power just was unreal.
This is what I mean. I think him now growing into the weight a little bit more.
I didn't expect him to have that power.
He had the Linares fight, and then he didn't look great in the Pedraza. But I think again,
what's in the Pedraza fight though, where it was just like, what am I seeing?
Yeah, but what we saw, I think in that fight is the first time we've ever seen somebody stand off Lomachenko and try and box with him.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't work out. But we saw things. But we saw things in that fight that we hadn't seen in other Lomachenko fights. And Pedraza, with the greatest deal of respect to him, is not an elite level fighter. He's somebody who is, I would consider, a former belt holder.
Yeah.
A two-weight belt holder, which sounds horrible to say.
No, I know what you mean. But the way I think about Rona.
Yeah, a belt holder, which is kind of where we go with the. It's probably going to have to be a conversation for a different time, but with lineal titles and stuff.
That's you're
talking about a belt holder versus lineal guy. For me, Pacquiao being an 8 division world champion is impressive.
Was he five lineal?
But he's a 5-weight lineal champion. One of those was bullshit. The Tim Bradley fight at welterweight was bullshit. That shouldn't have been for the lineal title, but still. But anyway, going back to kind of Lomachenko Campbell. Lomachenko is going to be a favourite against anybody he fights, arguably at 140 as well. Do I think he does that weight well? No, I don't, because you've got the way that boxing is these days, your 140s are 147, so we're making 140 at least. You've got Spence at welterweight who could easily be middleweight.
Easily.
So you're only gonna see him as an underdog if he boxes, in my opinion, at 147.
Who's the bigger favourite? Spence over Porter or Loma over Luke?
I think I saw this, and I know you're talking about Babs. Shout out Babs.
Babs, he knows the shit.
Yeah. Personally, I think
people are underrating Porter.
I think Porter is a bigger underdog.
Yeah, I'd say just Spence as well. Yeah.
Porter, in my opinion, if you're a world-class elite welterweight, you beat him, as we've seen in the past. Kell Brook. Say what you want about
close though.
It was a close fight. To be fair, I actually thought the fight was a lot closer the first time when I rewatched it. I rewatched it when Sean Porter boxed Yordenis Ugas. Yeah. Before the fight, I don't know why. I just wanted to watch a Sean Porter fight. It was no real kind of.
That was the Sean Porter, that menace.
Yeah, it was after he just like destroyed Paulie Malignaggi, and he mauled Devin Alexander.
Just mauled him. Yeah,
that was really horrible.
That was
when he was like he was billed as like the welterweight Mike Tyson.
Basically, yeah.
And but Brook beat him. Say what you want about his career. There was a time at least where he was an exceptional fighter.
Was exceptional.
Really, really top fighter. How he's conducted himself, how he's looked after himself outside the ring. Depending on what you listen to, potentially hasn't always been ideal,
Yeah.
and he's not got the fights, the Harry Khan fight in particular. But then you saw in the Porter fight against Keith Thurman, again another close fight, but Keith Thurman won the fight. So if you're
the only
Errol
exception, I guess, is
Spence,
Danny Garcia. It's the only exception, but Danny's not the same world level as those guys you just
yeah, I think I never
close as
really
well.
saw Danny Garcia moving up from 140 to 147 as like, I know he picked up a title, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I always thought that what he had at 140 he would lose at 147
Yeah.
because of the way he's not going to be
He's not
he's a
mover.
solid puncher
He's a solid
at
puncher, doesn't
147,
move,
but
yeah.
he's not a concussive knockout artist at 147. I mean, yes, it looks fantastic when you're blowing guys over who've got no real business.
Brandon Rios and
or you know, when,
you mean before that?
yeah, the Brandon Rios knockout, but then obviously we were talking about before that when he fought, who's the fucking guy?
The one that caused a big problem for everyone.
When he had the wall on his shorts.
Yeah,
Rod Salka.
Yeah, Rod Salka. I interviewed him actually.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, he knocked out the fucking ancient Eric
He lost as well, I think, to... who did he fight in Mexico?
Oh, Mauricio Herrera.
Yes.
Puerto Rico, yeah. Mauricio Herrera just got ironed out by Virgil Ortiz. Well, not just. His last fight.
before,
Ortiz boxed Antonio Orozco. But, yeah, I think, back to the original question, I think Spence is an elite fighter, but even I think he's...
How good is Spence, you think?
I think
are we talking elite? Like
I think
elite?
I think on the world scale he's an elite. I think he's
top 5 pound for pound.
not top 5.
He's not, is he?
No. I would rate Crawford higher than him on a pound for pound because of the achievements.
Who would win it though?
I think Spence beats Crawford.
Oh, don't say that. I think Crawford beats Spence.
No, I think Spence beats Crawford.
I think Crawford outboxes him.
But I have Crawford higher pound for pound.
Yeah, because of what he's done.
Because of what he's
Free weight,
achieved
yeah.
at different weight classes. That's not to say Spence can't move up to 154 and pick up a title. I think 154 for a period was a very deep
It's
division.
weird, funny, because as big as we say Spence is, then he goes up to 154 and he's just normal sized.
Yeah.
I mean, it's normal size. It's weird how it works. Like, you've got to stay within there sometimes.
I don't think 154 is necessarily as talented.
Not as it was 5 years ago.
Not even necessarily that long ago. You go back like 2 years ago and you had like Lara before Lara really started
Both Charlo
to slide.
brothers.
Both Charlos were down there. You had Lubin on the way up before he
Yeah.
got splattered by Jamel Charlo. Jarrett Hurd.
Yeah.
Julian Williams before he boxed Jamal.
Yeah.
So that was really...
Austin Trout floating around. Yeah. Canelo, yeah, of course.
So Miguel Cotto. So there was a lot more. There was a lot more depth than there is, I think, now. So I think he could go up and win a world title at 154.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I do think Spence would be too big for Crawford, and I think that he would win.
I love that little thing they had. I think any set like that.
I think that's great. That's great. And
Show
I think
another side of Crawford.
That's how to build a fight. I mean, Crawford is like he's
an hilarious guy.
But he's a hard man as well, and this is something that a lot of people kind of had the misconception of Floyd, because Floyd is an outside fighter and a mover and a defensive slickster, still got that dog in him. Like, when he can still fight. When it comes down to push comes to shove, he can fight.
There's that clip of Crawford fighting that sparring a middleweight. I think it's a Cuban middleweight, and they're just going at it. I mean, it's bloody.
I think you need that really to become like a top pound for pound fighter. They're all got to have that little bit of dog, of animal in them, and I think that Crawford definitely has that, as well as being a very slick, technically gifted fighter, very aesthetically pleasing, but he's also a hard man. Just ask the guy who worked on his car. Allegedly. But yeah, no, back to the question. So I think Porter is a bigger underdog against Spence because we've seen his limitations. Not to say that we haven't with Luke Campbell, but I think he has improved.
I think it's a different Luke Campbell now.
It's a different
mindset, all the stuff outside.
A professional Luke
better.
Campbell. I think the style that he has.
And he's a
shown,
boxer. He's a boxer,
and he can really
medalist.
punch. I think his punching power is underrated. As I say, everybody I've spoken to who's been in the ring with him talks about his punching power, and let's not forget he's an Olympic gold medalist, and this was a legitimate Olympic gold medalist.
This is one.
Unlike some other Olympic
dudes,
gold medalists, this was a legitimate Olympic gold that he, and he'd been around the circuit for a long time, and he boxed.
It's weird coming through that 2012 Olympics. He was supposed to be the golden child.
Yeah,
he was the one that was supposed to do all these things. He was in the ice skating show or something. I can't remember.
He was on Dancing on Ice after. This was after the Olympics. But yeah. So he's definitely a live dog. But yes, VASYL Lomachenko.